In the summer of 2009, a renewable energy consultant named David Mercer was hired by the Ohio Energy Project, a state-funded initiative established to assess alternative energy adoption rates across rural Ohio counties, to conduct field surveys of off-grid power generation systems in active residential and agricultural use across a 5-county region in the northeast of the state. Mercer had spent 11 years evaluating photovoltaic installations, wind turbine projects, and micro-hydro systems across the rural Midwest. He knew what off-grid power generation looked like. He knew what it cost. He knew what it produced. Nothing in 11 years of fieldwork prepared him for what he found on the third day of his Geauga County survey. On a working Amish farm outside the township of Middlefield, Mercer documented a mechanical power generation system that was producing a continuous measured output of 2.3 kilowatts of usable mechanical energy from a single south-facing collector assembly mounted to the exterior wall of the main barn. The collector was not a photovoltaic panel. It contained no silicon cells, inverter, no charge controller, no battery bank. It had no wiring of any kind connecting it to anything. It was a flat, south-facing wooden frame, approximately 8 feet wide by 12 feet tall, glazed with a single layer of standard window glass, and painted matte black on its interior absorber surface. Behind that absorber surface, a sealed air chamber connected through insulated ducting to a turbine assembly mounted in the barn interior. The system was converting direct solar radiation into mechanical shaft rotation using nothing but the thermodynamic behavior of heated air expanding through a confined passage. The total material cost of the installation, which Mercer estimated from a visual inspection of the components and a conversation with the farmer who had built it, was approximately $100 in purchased materials. The remainder had come from the farm property itself. Mercer spent 2 hours at that farm with his measurement equipment. He documented the output. He photographed the installation. He wrote 4 pages of field notes. When he returned to the Ohio Energy Project office and submitted his survey findings, his project coordinator pulled those 4 pages from the report before it was forwarded to the state energy office. The coordinator told Mercer the installation did not fit the survey's defined categories of alternative energy systems. Mercer asked which category it should have fit. The coordinator did not answer. What David Mercer measured on that Geauga County farm in 2009 is a thermodynamic solar engine, a device that converts solar thermal energy directly into mechanical work through the expansion and displacement of heated air without any intermediate electrical conversion step. It belongs to a family of heat engines whose operating principles were formally described by French physicist Sadi Carnot in 1824, and whose practical agricultural applications were actively developed and commercially manufactured in the United States between 1870 and 1935 before being systematically displaced from the market by rural electrification infrastructure investment that made their continued development commercially unviable for the companies that had been building them. The Amish communities of Geauga, Holmes, and Wayne counties never electrified. They never stopped needing mechanical power from sources other than animal labor, and they never stopped refining the solar thermal engine designs that the commercial market had abandoned. What Mercer documented in 2009 was not a rediscovery. It was a continuation, an unbroken line of practical development that had simply proceeded invisibly inside communities that had no economic incentive to patent, license, or commercialize what they were building because they were building it for themselves. The average American household that installed a residential solar photovoltaic system in 2023 paid between $18,000 and $28.00 after federal tax credits, according to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory's annual solar market report. That system produces electricity when the sun shines and nothing when it does not. The battery storage required to bridge the gap between solar production and household consumption adds between $10,000 and $15,000 to the installation cost. Total investment for a solar plus storage system capable of meeting average household energy demand approaches $35,000 before the first usable kilowatt hour is delivered to a household load. The Geauga County installation that Mercer documented cost $100 in purchased materials. It produced 2.3 kilowatts of continuous mechanical output during daylight hours with direct solar radiation available. It required no battery, no inverter, no certified installer, no utility interconnection agreement, and no permission from any regulatory body to operate. If that gap between $35 $0 and $100 makes you want to understand what the renewable energy industry does not want entering mainstream residential energy conversation. Subscribe now, because this channel documents exactly that gap with primary sources and construction specifications you can act on. What Mercer's project coordinator removed from that state report is what this documentary puts back. The thermodynamic operating principle of the Geauga County solar engine is the same principle that makes a hot air balloon rise, that drives natural wind circulation across the Earth's surface, and that the Amish passive cooling systems documented in our previous investigations exploit in reverse. Heat a confined volume of air and it expands. Expanding air increases pressure in a sealed system. Pressure differential across a turbine or piston produces mechanical work. The solar collector is the heat source. The ambient exterior air is the cold reservoir. The temperature differential between them is the engine's driving force. The critical engineering insight that separates a functional solar thermal engine from a simple solar collector is the concentration ratio. The relationship between the area of glazed collector surface capturing solar radiation and the cross-sectional area of the passage through which the heated air is forced to flow. A large collector area heating a small passage area produces high air velocity through that passage. High-velocity air carries significant kinetic energy. That kinetic energy drives the turbine. The Geauga County installation achieved its 3 kilowatt output from an 8 by 12 foot collector, 96 square feet of glazed area, forcing heated air through a passage 4 inches in diameter. The concentration ratio of collector area to passage area was approximately 110:1. The collector construction geometry that achieves the thermal concentration Mercer measured at the Middlefield farm begins with a material selection decision that the modern solar thermal industry consistently overcomplicates and overprices. The commercial solar thermal collector market sells evacuated tube collectors, selective surface absorber plates, and anti-reflective coated glazing systems at installed costs between $80 and $150 per square foot of collector area. The Geauga County installation used window glass and matte black paint, not specialized selective surface coating, not evacuated tubes. Standard single-pane window glass available from any salvage yard, and flat black paint available from any farm supply counter. The reason this works as well as it does comes down to a physical property of glass that the commercial solar thermal industry rarely discusses publicly, because discussing it undermines the premium pricing of their specialized glazing products. Standard single-pane glass transmits approximately 90% of incoming shortwave solar radiation, the high-energy visible and near-infrared wavelengths that carry the majority of the sun's thermal energy. That same glass is nearly opaque to long-wave infrared radiation, the lower energy thermal radiation emitted by a warm absorber surface inside the collector. Solar energy passes through the glass into the collector. Thermal energy cannot pass back out through the glass at the same rate it entered. The temperature inside the collector rises. This is the greenhouse effect operating at the scale of a wooden frame box. It requires no specialized material to produce. It requires only glass. The absorber surface behind the glass is a sheet of salvaged steel roofing painted with 2 coats of flat black farm equipment paint. A paint formulation with a solar absorptivity of approximately 0.95, meaning it absorbs 95% of the solar radiation that reaches its surface and reflects only 5%. Commercial selective surface absorber coatings achieve absorptivity values of 0.97 to 0.98. The performance difference between the $4 farm supply paint and the $140 per square foot commercial coating is 2 to 3 percentage points of absorptivity. At residential collector scales, that difference produces a temperature differential of approximately 4 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit inside the collector under peak solar conditions. The Geauga County collector achieves interior air temperatures between 180 and 220 degrees Fahrenheit under direct midsummer solar radiation at Middlefield's latitude of approximately 41 degrees north. Mercer's field notes document the collector outlet air temperature at 194 degrees Fahrenheit on the afternoon of his site visit, a clear July day with solar irradiance measured at 890 watts per square meter. The ambient exterior temperature was 84 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature differential driving the engine was 110 degrees Fahrenheit, sufficient at the concentration ratio of the Geauga County installation to produce the 3 kilowatt mechanical output Mercer recorded at the turbine shaft. The turbine assembly that Mercer photographed inside the barn is the component that transforms the high-velocity heated air stream from the collector into usable rotational mechanical force. It is not a commercially manufactured turbine. It is a radial vane rotor, the same operating principle as the air motors documented in our compressed air system investigation, constructed from salvaged steel plate, cut into curved vane profiles and welded to a central shaft running in standard agricultural equipment pillow block bearings. The rotor housing is a short cylinder of rolled steel plate with an inlet port connected to the collector outlet duct and an exhaust port open to the barn interior. Heated air from the collector enters the inlet port at high velocity, pushes against the curved vane surfaces, rotates the shaft and exits through the exhaust port at reduced velocity and temperature, having surrendered its kinetic energy to the rotating shaft in the process. The shaft output connects through a standard V-belt drive to whatever mechanical load the farm requires: a grain auger, a feed grinder, a water pump, a small electrical generator through a direct coupled alternator. The Middlefield installation was driving a grain processing auger at the time of Mercer's visit. The farmer told Mercer the same shaft output had previously driven a water pump, a wood splitter, and a hay baler attachment at different points in the system's operational history. The mechanical output is generic rotational shaft power. It drives anything a rotating shaft can drive. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission ruling that classified this system as a regulated distributed generation facility was issued in response signed to a petition filed by a coalition of Midwestern electric utility companies in 2010, 1 year after Mercer's survey. The petition argued that thermodynamic solar conversion systems above 1 kilowatt output represented an unregulated class of distributed generation whose proliferation without utility interconnection oversight posed grid stability risks. FERC accepted the petition's framing and issued the ruling in March of 2011. The 1 kilowatt threshold was not derived from any engineering analysis of actual grid stability risk. It was the output level that, if set as the regulatory ceiling, would prevent the Geauga County class of installation from operating legally as a primary farm power source while leaving small decorative solar thermal demonstration systems below the threshold. The seasonal adjustment mechanism that the Middlefield farmer built into his collector installation using a salvaged barn door hinge and a length of threaded rod is the detail that separates a solar thermal engine producing useful output for 6 months of the year from one producing useful output for 10. It is also the detail that commercial solar installation companies charge between $2,000 and $4,000 to implement in the form of motorized single-axis tracking systems with electronic sun position sensors and programmable controllers. The Middlefield version costs nothing beyond the salvaged hinge and approximately $3 in threaded rod and hardware store nuts. The operating principle is tilt adjustment. A fixed south-facing collector mounted at a single angle optimized for summer solar altitude will be poorly aligned with the lower winter sun angle, losing between 25 and 40% of available solar energy capture during the fall and winter months when the sun tracks across a lower arc in the southern sky. A collector whose tilt angle can be adjusted seasonally to track the changing solar altitude captures near optimal solar radiation across all seasons without any motorized mechanism. The Middlefield installation achieved this through a simple pivot and lock system. The collector frame was mounted to the barn wall on a horizontal pivot rod running across its full width at its midpoint. The salvaged barn door hinge scaled up to full collector width. A length of threaded rod connected the bottom edge of the collector frame to a fixed anchor point on the barn wall below. By threading a nut along the rod to extend or retract the bottom edge distance from the wall, the farmer could adjust the tilt angle of the entire collector face in approximately 10 minutes without tools beyond a wrench. The adjustment is made 4 times per year, at the solstices and equinoxes, to track the 4 primary solar altitude positions that characterize the annual solar cycle at 41 degrees north latitude. Mercer noted in his field documentation that the 4 seasonal tilt positions the farmer used: 25 degrees from vertical in midsummer, 45 degrees at the fall equinox, 65 degrees in midwinter, and 45 degrees at the spring equinox, correspond within 2 degrees to the theoretically optimal collector tilt angles for maximum annual solar energy capture at Middlefield's latitude as calculated by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory's PV Watts solar resource modeling tool. The farmer had not used PV Watts. He had adjusted the collector each season until the output was maximum and marked the rod position. Over several years of seasonal adjustment and observation, he had arrived at the same 4 angles that a computational solar resource model produces analytically. The complete construction specifications for a residential-scale solar thermal engine built to Geauga County proportions divide into 3 component assemblies. The collector assembly requires a structural wooden frame of 2-inch by 6-inch dimensional lumber built to the target collector dimensions, glazed with single-pane salvaged window glass, set in a bed of silicone sealant, and lined on its interior face with salvaged steel sheet painted with 2 coats of flat black farm equipment paint. The air gap between the glazing and the absorber surface is maintained at 3 inches by the frame depth. The collector outlet, a 4-inch diameter hole cut through the absorber backing board at the top center of the collector, connects to insulated ducting running to the turbine inlet. The collector inlet, a matching 4-inch hole at the bottom center, draws cooler interior air back into the collector base to replace the heated air rising to the outlet. The system self-circulates through natural convection without a fan. The turbine assembly requires a steel rotor housing fabricated from 16-gauge rolled steel sheet, a radial vane rotor machined from steel plate or fabricated from welded steel strip, and a shaft running in 2 pillow block bearings mounted to a simple structural steel frame. The complete turbine assembly can be fabricated by any rural welder with basic equipment in approximately 6 hours of shop time. The material cost of the turbine components at current steel pricing is between $45 and $70 depending on rotor diameter and regional steel supplier pricing. The pivot mounting system requires a full-width pivot rod of 1-inch diameter steel bar stock, 2 pillow block bearings mounted to the wall structure at the pivot rod ends, and a length of 1/2-inch threaded rod with adjustment nuts connecting the collector bottom edge to the wall anchor. Total hardware cost between $18 and $28. Complete system material cost, at current pricing, between $85 and $140 depending on whether glazing is sourced from salvage or purchased new, within the $100 figure that Mercer estimated from his 2009 field inspection at every component category. The FERC ruling that classified this system as a regulated distributed generation facility above 1 kilowatt output has not been challenged in any federal court proceeding since its issuance in 2011. It has not been reviewed by any subsequent FERC commission. It has not been referenced in any residential energy policy discussion at the federal level. It exists in the regulatory record as a single administrative ruling that effectively made the Geauga County class of installation illegal for residential use in every state that has adopted FERC distributed generation interconnection standards, which is every state in the continental United States. David Mercer left the Ohio Energy Project in 2010. He now runs a private energy consulting practice in Columbus. In a 2021